We are ready now to listen to the words of the Holy Gospel and its message for us today. Join me in singing the Gospel acclamation.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one can take them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one can take them out of the Father's hand. And the Father and I are one." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord. I'm sure that you have all had the same experience that I often have, and that is trying to explain something to someone, especially when it's very important to you, and they just don't get it. Now, I have to tell you, I often had that experience when I was teaching geometry. I would think I'd do a great job explaining the theorems, etc., and I'd turn around and I'd have a classroom filled with what I call wide-mouthed bats. Just didn't get it. We change our words, we use examples, and we still get a blank stare back from some people. And you know what? I suspect that Jesus has the same kind of frustration with us. Every single week he tries over and over and over again through the words of the Holy Gospel to explain to us who he is and who he wants to be in our lives. And we just don't seem to get it. Because certainly, I think you'd agree with me, if we really got it, our lives would be radically different. You know, in all my years here at St. Michael's, I've never had anyone stop me on their way out after Mass and say, "Sister, oh my gosh, I've listened to that story about Jesus feeding the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish, and I got it now. I mean, is that stupendous or what?" We just listen and say, "Wasn't that nice?" It doesn't register in our hearts. And Jesus uses every single means at his disposal to try to tell us who he is and who he wants to be in our lives. He uses amazing miracles. He uses eloquent sermons and just plain kind acts. Compassion and generosity are his hallmark. And we still don't get it. And good for us that he doesn't give up on us, as we often do when we're trying to explain something. And finally, after 2 or 3 attempts, we say, "Forget about it. I'm not going to try again." Jesus is a never give up person. He keeps trying and trying and trying every single week in the Holy Gospel, hoping that one of these days we're going to throw up our hands and say, "I get it. Now I understand. Now I appreciate what this is going to call forth from me." This is what we're all about as Christians. If we come here every week, we call ourselves Christians. What does that mean for us? It means that we have committed ourselves to learning more and more about Jesus and taking on those qualities, developing those virtues in ourselves that will make us more like Jesus. This is what our whole life should be about. And so, in today's Holy Gospel, which is only a few verses long, we have one more snippet, one more piece of the puzzle. And Jesus says to us, I'm like a good shepherd. I want to tell you about myself. A good shepherd is kind and gentle and cares for his flock. We're talking, of course, the sheep here, about us. We are the sheep of Jesus. He is our good shepherd. And so if we are dedicated and determined to becoming more and more like Jesus, then this gospel this morning should say to us, I need to develop more those qualities of the good shepherd. I need to be more generous. I need to be kinder. I need to be more patient. I need to be more caring. As you know, we are in the midst of the year of mercy, and we are focusing especially on the corporal and spiritual works of mercy that many of us learned when we were very young. But they are still in style. They are a guideline for us as developing Christians of learning more and more about Jesus. And if we are practicing those corporal and spiritual works of mercy, then we are becoming kinder and more compassionate and more concerned about one another. As you know, our social justice ministry here at St. Michael's takes this mission of Jesus to help one another, especially those who are in need, seriously. We offer you multitudes of opportunities to serve those in need, to develop those virtues of kindness and compassion and generosity. And I remind you that when we reach the gates and meet Jesus face to face, he is not going to say to us, explain to me this complicated dogma. Absolutely not. He is not going to ask us to list our academic degrees. Doesn't really care about that. You know, from the end of Matthew's gospel, he is going to say, here are just a few questions I want to ask you. And of course, he already knows the answers, but he wants to hear the answer from us. And so he says, did you feed the hungry? Did you visit the sick? Were you kind? And let me give you a little tip here. Don't say in response to those questions, well, you know, I went to St. Michael's most of my life in North Greenbush. You know where that is? They didn't really offer me any opportunities for doing that. But because he's going to say, what? I know St. Michael's. You had a myriad of opportunities. It must be you missed them. You were too preoccupied, too focused in, perhaps, on yourself. So, be ready for those questions. Be ready with your answer. Have you fed the hungry? You know, as I mentioned, we offer you so many opportunities here. And once again, we don't expect everybody to respond to everything. But we hope that everybody responds to something. And so we put those opportunities out, and we wait for you to say, I can do that. I can bring some food for Work Center. I can do that. I can bring some bedding for St. Paul's. I can do that. I can bring some school supplies for the children at Carroll Hill School. I can do that. I can make an Easter basket for Circles of Mercy. I can do that. And then, of course, follow through. We know, of course, however, if we read the newspapers and watch the news, that all the needy people in the world don't live in Troy and Rensselaer. This is why every year at this time, it is my job as the parish leader here at St. Michael's to remind you of the bishop's appeal. And I was saying to the congregation last night, perhaps we need a better name for this collection. In the Syracuse Diocese, my home diocese, they call it the Hope Appeal. I kind of like that name better because it provides, this collection that we do once a year, provides monies and support that give people hope. The bishop's appeal is not about raising money for the bishop, Bishop Ed, so that he can build a bigger house or buy himself a better Cadillac. He doesn't have a Cadillac. It's not about that. It's providing the money that he needs as the shepherd of this diocese to support the diocesan offices that support all of us on an ongoing basis. It provides money for Catholic charities to be there when people are flooded out, when people are burned out, when people lose their jobs through no fault of their own. Catholic Charities is there to help with the monies that you and I donate. These are the monies that are used to further our faith formation, especially our young people, to provide programs for them so that they get the message, so that they see, as we do as we age, how important it is to respond to the call of the gospel. And so I encourage you, during this week, think about today's Holy Gospel. My sheep hear my voice. And aren't voices important to all of us? We have some special voices in our lives. When I was preparing this homily, I was thinking of my mother, which I often do, and how I would give anything to be able to hear her voice say my name just one more time. Give anything for it. And wouldn't it also be wonderful if we came every single week and we listened to the Holy Gospel as if it was the voice of Jesus speaking to each of us. Not all the rest of the people, just to us. Because you know, my friends, that is the truth. Every single week, he speaks to our heart. Make sure it is open. And during this week, think of what you can contribute to this year's Bishop's Appeal. If you are a registered member of this parish, you should have received a letter from me either Monday or Tuesday, kicking off the Bishop's Appeal, reminding you that I'd be speaking about it yesterday or today during the liturgies. On the back of that letter is a picture of the envelope that you can use. You can fill it out and just fold it up and put it in the basket next weekend. Next weekend will be our commitment weekend. We will have a special collection for the Bishop's Appeal envelopes. You don't have to put any money in the envelope to begin with, and if you'd like an actual envelope, they are in the basket on the baptismal font as you leave today. You can pledge a certain amount to be paid over the next year through next March, actually. You can go online for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Albany and make your donation there. Make sure that you pick St. Michael the Archangel, Troy, and not St. Michael the Archangel, Cohoes or South Glens Falls, so that your donation will be recorded in our total. As I think I've mentioned to you before, every parish in the diocese is given an assessment, the amount of money that is expected of us to raise here at this parish, and all of those assessments are based on our weekly income. So once again, remember today's Holy Gospel. My sheep hear my voice. Give what you can to take the burdens off the backs of so many people in our area.